welcome to IrishRacing.com for another edition of our Formscan show. A massive weekend of action here, both in Ireland and across the water in the UK. Obviously, the Betfair Hurdle, a big juicy handicap for punters to get stuck into. And I'm delighted to be joined this week by our guest, Ed Quigley. Ed, how are you keeping?
Yeah, I'm very good, thanks, Emma. Yes, I said I was hoping to make it to Warwick for the weekend. Had a nice spot in owners and trainers with Charlie Longston. Well, that's not happening now. It's probably good for my head, I suppose, on Sunday morning. But no, jokes aside, yeah, a crazy amount of rain here in the UK. And you mentioned Newbury and the Betfair Hurdle. I think it was like good to soft it to start the week. It's more or less heavy more than anything now, with more rain on the way. So fingers crossed that meeting can survive. Say Warwick and Uttoxeter have been canned over here. They're flooded. As you say, fingers crossed that Newbury car is an absolute belter. We're just hoping for a little bit of dry weather, which, if the weather is accurate, it should be fine and the meeting will get the green light.
Yeah, I hope so now. It's kind of heavy ground, like you said, and there's maybe one or two horses that have been declared on Sunday just as a precaution. But hopefully Newbury will go ahead. We're going to finish up the shows out with a little ante-post chat about the Supreme. Obviously, plenty of pointers from last week's Dublin Racing Festival. I suppose just a quick word from you, Dublin Racing Festival. What did you make of it?
It left me a little bit cold, to be honest with you. I mean, as a spectacle, fantastic seeing some of these, wonderful athletes, for want of a better phrase, just absolutely bombing around and producing fantastic performances. Obviously, Ballyburn, El Fabiolo, that was a sweat-free win, wasn't it? Beating Dino Blue, who was obviously a very good mare and getting her allowances, and El Fabiolo swatted her aside. Obviously, Galopin de Champ. But it was all a little bit kind of samey, wasn't it? I suppose we haven't really got time to go into detail on this, but it's not Willie Mullins' fault. But when you're looking up and there's two runner grade ones, both trained by Willie Mullins, it just leaves me just a little bit cold, going further forward, I don't know whether they'll maybe need to alter the race plan or so in regards to the Dublin Race Festival. And then obviously Gordon Elliott with the dispersal sale. He was obviously down on numbers that were entered in. He wasn't targeting that meeting at all, so he would have at least been able to provide perhaps some competition in some quarters. But anyway, I thought, look, in terms of pointers for Cheltenham, naturally, it's ticked a lot of boxes, and we'll touch upon them in the roundup at the end. But yeah, as a meeting overall, it was enjoyable to watch as a spectacle. You say when you kind of got 2-3 runner races and not really betting heats, and I say there's a little bit of the sameness to it, wasn't there?
Yeah, I suppose that might even be a pointer towards Cheltenham. I'd say Willie, like the team he has this year, like the strength in it is just unbelievable. Thankfully, maybe this weekend's racing might be a little bit easier for punters. So look, we'll drive straight in. We could probably talk about Dublin Racing Festival all day, but we'll drive straight in. We'll start with Naas, I think. There's a good mares race there in Naas on Saturday to kick us off. The Opera Hat Mayor's Chase, and this will be a good little pointer, I think, towards the Cheltenham Festival. It's been kind of a good trial for mares going towards Cheltenham. I think Ellie May won it twice there on her route to glory in that Cheltenham Chase, and a few of the kind of market leaders, I suppose, for that Cheltenham race are showing up here again. Allegory de Vassi and Mascada kind of top the market here, but some very good mares in there among them. What's your kind of thoughts on this one?
Well, on the sheer kind of face of it, you'd say Riviere Details were massively overpriced. She absolutely thumped Allegory de Vassi last time out, as to be said. I suppose, just to play devil's advocate, I actually thought Riviere Details' improvement came from going up in distance. I thought it just put less pressure on her in the jumping department, which had been her Achilles heel over the last couple of the seasons. She just, over 2 miles, going that yard quicker, she'd been making mistakes. Just seemed to find things easier over 2.5. And Allegory de Vassi on that ground, I'm not sure quite stayed. Well, we're back down to 2 here today. So that does narrow the gap. But still, Allegory de Vassi around 13.8 or thereabouts. Riviere de Tal 4-1. Seems a bit too much of a gap between them. And then just to throw, as you say, the kind of joker in the pack, Mascada. On these terms, the conditions of this race, she's in receipt of plenty of weight from the others. And on official ratings, that pretty much makes her the best in the field. And she's got some very smart form to her name. Obviously, was well beaten behind Allegory de Vassi at Clonmel earlier in the season. Again, that was over 2.5. I think 2 miles is Mascada's trip, as she showed in the Grand Annual at the Cheltenham Festival last year. And she returned to that trip last time out and finishing third to El Fabiolo. Well, we all know that's very, very good form. And Jungle Boogie was behind her that day. He's come out and franked it since as well. So, yeah, this is a real head scratcher. I don't really know where to go. I suppose if I was being dictated by a price, I'd probably be with Riviere de Tal. My gut's kind of telling me Muscada. Well, the logic is telling me Muscada should win. My gut's telling me Allegory de Vassi will probably pull it off. So all in all, I've not told you a great deal there. But as you say, in regards to heading forward to Cheltenham, it will be interesting what they do in Muscada. I've always been convinced she's a 2-miler, and whether they stick to that route, if you see what I'm saying. I know she did win over 2-3 once upon a time at Limerick, but that was a run at a cruel. The best of her form has always come on soft ground at the minimum trip, in my view. So she's got everything right for her in this race. But it'd be fascinating moving forward. As I say, Allegory de Vassi, just for all her hype, hasn't perhaps quite delivered. You look at the amount of times she's been beaten, 4-9 favourite at Fairyhouse early in the season. I think she was massively odds on last time out as well. She's always very, very popular in the market and doesn't always deliver. So yeah, bit of a note-taking exercise for me, but it is a good race. Can't deny that.
Yeah, Allegory de Vassi, she's kind of one, like, it's hard to rely on her now, really. She often goes in kind of a short price favourite. And look, when she's good, she's very, very good, you'd have to say about her, but she's just a little bit hot and cold. To be honest, I'm quite taken by Mascada here. I think, like, on official rating, she's £7 well in with Willie's mare. I thought that run as well in the Hilly Way was very eye-catching last time. She jumped out, it was kind of totally different to her own in Clonmel. Jumped out and jumped very enthusiastically. Like, to be beaten by El Fabiola about 7 or 8 or 9 lengths, that's no disgrace either. I think she ran with plenty of credit that day. She could be just getting wound up now for these big spring festival races, and I think she could put her stamp on this race, definitely. Like that form with Dino Blue last year as well in the Grand Annual, have to put her up there with some of the best mares around this year. So I'd probably be willing to take a chance on Mascada at those prices. Just getting the weight from the mares. Riviere to Tell, very talented mare, like you mentioned. I think going this way, though, will be a bit of a worry for her. Gordon mentioned after the Fairyhouse win that he'd prefer to keep her going right-handed, which isn't ideal. Her jumping can let her down sometimes, so I'd be a little bit worried about her. And just kind of one mention for Silent Approach then, without mentioning all the horses in the race. I thought she was a mare with, like, she's a mare with so much talent, but she's just had quite a hard campaign this year, which probably reflects it in her price. I thought she even ran a good race in Thurles last time, probably before fading out. I wouldn't mind her seeing her come into Cheltenham a little bit fresher than this, but yeah, I think Mascada is probably the one to beat here for me. But an intriguing little contest with plenty of pointers for Cheltenham, hopefully. But we'll drive straight on to Newbury then. Plenty to get through. The 205, I think, will be the first race. We'll talk about the Denman Chase. I'm looking forward to seeing this contest. Shishkin is kind of a horse you're nearly looking forward to seeing every day this time, to see just what he is going to do. I suppose Shishkin on his best form, he's a worthy odds-on favourite. But is he someone you could rely on in this type of race?
I think you summed up very well there, Emma. No, you probably couldn't rely on him, but on his best form, as the official ratings would suggest, has £8 in hand over this field. I want to say £8 in hand, I mean £8 in hand over Protectorat. But for all the the facts are, Shishkin's won twice in 2 years. He's not become very reliable, and that is a fact. You go back, he was pulled up, obviously at the Cheltenham Festival a couple of years ago, and was thumped into Tingle Creek. The reason to his win gone, etc. Then, of course, he came back and he managed to win a couple of Grade Ones, didn't he? But in between that, he was beaten as an even money favourite in the Ryanair, and then this season so far has been a disaster, hasn't it? Obviously, he planted himself and then refused to race at Ascot, and then was in the process of probably second at worst, you could argue, in the King George, and then unseated. So look, on his best form, he is the horse to beat. I just wonder, would Nicky Henderson have him 110% for Newbury on heavy ground 4 weeks before the Cheltenham Festival? And I'm taking him on, basically. I think Protectorat has got everything right for him. A flat track, deep ground, 2 miles 7. He's going to run to 165. He's not a superstar, but one thing with Protectorat on that ground and at that track, he's going to run his race. And so, 5-2 or there or thereabouts, Protectorat, 8-13 Shishkin. I just get me nervous, Shishkin. There's just too many holes in his overall profile for me to wade into that price. I'd be more tempted to back him for the Gold Cup. That'd probably be the angle, and hope he came good there, perhaps on a bit better ground. But I don't think Does He Know's good enough. Hitman looks gone at the game. I think they'll just be looking for surprise money. Sam Brown's the one who's attracted a bit of support, basically because I think the horse is Santini Honeyball says he's very happy with a snorkel on and some flippers. And so Sam Brown's going to have his ground. But all in all, yeah, I just 8-13 about Shishkin. That gets me nervous. For much as he's a horse with a lot of ability. The other thing as well is I think I wouldn't say this is Protectorate's Gold Cup, but Protectorate would be right on it here. I know they're talking about going perhaps to the Ryanair chase at the Cheltenham Festival. I think he falls a little bit in between two stools when it comes to Cheltenham. I think 3 on a flat track's probably more his bag. Not totally convinced about him for the extended 3.25 miles, and 2.5 around Cheltenham might be a bit lively. But all in all, I just think on this day, there's not as much between them as the market's leading you to. I think Protectorate will really give Shishkin plenty to think about, especially on this ground.
Yeah, without repeating everything you've just said, I totally agree with that. I couldn't have Shishkin at odds on. Protectorate, everything kind of seems to be lining up for him. I think the run behind Long Presse last time would build you with encouragement as well. So I'd be willing to take Shishkin on here. I don't even think I'd be throwing Shishkin into any accumulators, to be honest. He's not a horse I could trust, especially on this type of ground. And like you said, this could be Protectorate's Gold Cup, where Shishkin surely has he's one eye on Cheltenham the whole time. So I think Shishkin definitely a vulnerable favourite there in the 205. But the 240, another one, I suppose, Edwardstone. Similar to Shishkin, at his best, he should be winning this, but again, not the most reliable type of chaser. I suppose last time there was excuses for him over the 2.5 miles, pulled too hard, but still over 2 miles, he's a little bit in and out. Would you be with him here or taking him on?
No, I'll be taking him on again. I mean, he's 10 years young. Yes, on paper, you could argue this is the easiest race he's had for some time, but he's becoming, he's been a brilliant horse. I'm not going to crab him in that sense, but, Father Time waits for no horse. He's 10 years of age now. And again, you've got to go back to December 2022, last time he was in the winner's enclosure. He's just become a little bit unreliable. On that evidence, you say more unreliable. Yeah, he's run some very good races in defeat, including behind, obviously, John Bon 2 starts ago at Sandown. That was a very good run, but he doesn't win all that often, and he ran deplorably in the champion chase when sent off second favourite last season, tailed off by Energamine. He unseated at Kempton last season when he was 1-3 or something. It's just, it's almost a little bit the Shishkins about him in the fact that, are we holding on to memories of 2 years ago? Now, I do think there are valid excuses last time at Kempton, whether he was up to the extended 2.5, wasn't he, behind Banbridge? He did not settle at all. He was trying to race like Pertemps, wasn't he, in Tom Cannon's arms? He just couldn't settle him. He literally, they tried the 2.5. He shaped like he wanted 2.5 miles. He just would not settle, dropped the bit, and he fell in a hole. I think coming back to 2 is the right thing. But he's just a horse I haven't had a bet or haven't got involved in it at the moment. But I'll be interested to see the prices nearer the time. I might be tempted to kind of look at the lay angle with him because I think you've got enough runners against you here. I mean, Boot Hill is a very consistent sort, as you say, on ratings now. A year ago, there would have been a lot between them, but now he's only got £2 to find with the conditions of the race of Edwardstone, and he's been having a pretty good season by and large. The mishap last time out, you got Finnable Civilo, who's a Jekyll and Hyde character, but obviously won this 12 months ago. And Editor de Gite again's got a good course form. Ground shouldn't be an issue. Plenty of winning form in soft. And all in all, as a horse, again, I think could easily serve it up to Edwardstone. So I think Edwardstone's got a lot on his plate here. So this is kind of D-Day for Edwardstone. If he's stuffed here, I don't know where you really go with him going further forward. So, no selection in terms of win bet because I'm, as a general rule, I'm just more against Edwardstone. That'd probably be my angle in here.
Yeah, it's kind of a good summary. Then I'd agree with a lot of it. To be fair, Edwardstone, I thought he was shaping really like a Ryanair kind of horse, but like you said, like the way he pulled last time, he's going to give himself no chance over the 2.5 miles. I suppose Boot Hill is the obvious one to oppose him with. He's remarkably consistent when he runs over 2 mile 1. I think he's ran 8 times over that kind of trip. Won 5 times. I think only out of the first 2 when he fell last time, of course. Wouldn't be like him to fall. He's normally quite a solid jumper, but maybe a little bit worried if that would leave an effect on him. Editor de Gite, an interesting one, like you mentioned. First time cheek pieces as well here. has been disappointing recently, but interesting to see does that bring out improvement in him. Obviously likes the course, the ground will be perfect, but yeah, not a really a betting race for me either. There's kind of too many unreliables in here for me. I'd be happy enough to watch them go. But the 315, and one of the most interesting contests of the weekend for punters, I suppose, always a good one to get stuck into, and a big talking horse here, of course, Ocastle de Mott for the Willie Mullins and Double Green partnership. News this morning that Daryl Jacobs switches onto him after Warwick was called off. Danny Mullins was originally booked for the ride, but look, I suppose the kind of talking point is he's been given a BHA rating of 133. His Irish rating is 139. Had been entered for the Dublin Racing Festival, but they've opted to keep him for this one. Obviously, a big ask on UK or Irish debut, but I think Willie thinks there's a mark to exploit here. Do you know much about this French form?
Well, I'm not going to pretend I'm an expert on the French form book, but as I say, looking through it, Amy de Kiff is an individual who Castle de Mott beat in a listed handicap hurdle. I think that horse has gone on to win a Grade 1 chase in France. So yeah, strictly speaking, that doesn't look too bad at all. And you say running here off, was it 133 officially? Is it £6 well in that sense, I suppose? Has to be taken seriously, yeah. And it's had a long time to acclimatise to Ireland as well. It's not like this horse has just transferred from France a month ago. I think joined the Cliff Sutton set up in July or early August last year. So yeah, look, at the end of the day, though, just too much of an unknown for me to know what is a good price. It'd be interesting to see the market in the morning, I suppose, Emma. Castle Mott could end up 11-4 here. Likewise,
Yeah, I think
could
it's
be
interesting.
drifted like a
They've been
barge.
supporting him heavily, kind of since I suppose declaration stage anyway to become this price, which has to be a pointer surely.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see where we are in the morning, but with each way opportunities against this individual, I will be looking elsewhere. I noticed, Ben Paulding has just pulled Tell Her the Name, which Harry Cobden have been booked to ride, won't be running due to the ground, and we'll head straight to the Supreme Novices. That's a bit of news coming out of that. But I'll be looking each way. Check your each way concessions. But Lodu Sud, I think it's a fascinating runner here. I think this could be a big afternoon for the Skeltons. This French recruit hasn't really fired so far. Has been more hype than substance, I think it's fair to say, since joining the Dan Skelton outfit. But it showed bits and pieces very good form, including when third in the Moor Battle off 131 last season. Was pretty weak on the day before the seasonal reappearance in the Greatwood Hurdle when pulling up. Subsequently, it's transpired, I think it was stomach ulcers for the horse. And Dan Skelton said, look, by his own admission, he's not a horse who's easy to keep sound, but we've seen the Skeltons, haven't we? Well, this side of the Irish Sea anyway, over the last few years, they've just got a habit of plundering these major handicap hurdle prizes. And Lodu Sud's been given 129 here, and given that almost by default, but all Lodu Sud's best form in France came in an absolute swamp. I don't think bottomless ground is going to be any inconvenience here. Hardly, yes, I say, could be a really lenient mark, 129 yard, say, target these types of races. Lodu Sud was in it, the big pot at Ascot just before Christmas, that 100-gram race. They decided to swerve that because I think the ground was a bit lively. They've just bided their time. And I just think, everything will be in place for Lodu Sud to run a big race. So look, it is fiercely competitive. You could bring a different guest on and probably make a case for about 16 different runners. But I'm just looking at things from a handicapping point of view with the ground in mind. Lodu Sud off 129. I think that could be lenient. You're around 16-1. I'd be disappointed if that horse didn't hit the frame.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Obviously, 20-1 looks like a great price for what looks like the first string for Dan Skelton. They do very well with these handicappers as well. So it looks like one with a big shout. Look, I'm kind of intrigued by this Willie Mullins runner. But I would find it hard to back him just like at this kind of price, given I don't know a whole pile about him other than what the French racing experts have been seeing on TV for the last few days. And Patrick Mullins has made the note that he's been in training for a long time, so he should be well ready for this. So seems a bit Gaelic warrior-esque, but it'll be an interesting one to watch. Kind of one at an each way price for me, who standing out a small bit look away. I think he's been put in on Sunday as well, I presume as a precaution, just in case this meeting was called off. I just think he's a horse, looks progressive, only a 7-year-old. I think only 10 career starts to date. I think his win to run ratio is about 50%. Just gone from strength to strength this season. Started off the season, I think America 1-2-2. won a Grade 2 hurdle, placed in a Grade 1 at Christmas time. Looks like just a horse on the upward curve. I think at an each way price, he's going to run a fairly solid race anyway. So he'd be one I'd be picking out of that field. But like you said, a different person could have a different opinion. You could give chances to plenty in here, but it'd be an interesting contest, and looking forward to seeing that French horse, how he shapes up for Willie Mullins. Sunday, talking about Willie Mullins, he's plenty of good chances in here as well. And we'll start off with Navan, I suppose. And the first race we'll talk about, I think, the 2:15, the Apples Jade Mares Novice Hurdle. Fitting, I suppose, that Gordon Elliott would have what I presume will be a short price favourite for Gigginstown, considering the name of the race. Brighter days ahead. Look, I suppose she was kind of the earliest contender for that Mayor's Novice Hurdle. There's been a few kind of coming out in the last few weeks, both in the UK and Ireland, who look real challengers to her in the Cheltenham race. But this should be fairly straightforward for her, I'd imagine.
You would imagine so. I suppose the unknown in this respect would be 2 miles 5 furlongs on testing ground. She's liked to get on with things over the minimum trip, and was a little bit keen on a couple of occasions. Jumping, well, again, just a little. She's a little bit raw and unfurnished. She will need to kind of keep a lid on things over 2.5, but as you say, on paper, there's not a great deal to take her on here. And if you're being realistic about her, I mean, she's pretty much she's third favourite or joint second favourite alongside Dysart Enos behind is it Jade de Grugy? Is that the name of
That's the one, yeah.
That's the right, yeah. So she's right up there, kind of five for favouritism in the Mayor's Novice Hurdle. She's got pretensions of winning that. You think Mel Monroe officially rated 128, even though she's got a concede weight, so you think she should be seeing off Mel Monroe, who's relatively exposed. So, yeah, not a race that's getting me particularly excited. What I would want to just see, though, as I say, with Cheltenham in mind, she's going to need to be slicker over her hurdles. In terms of the jumping department, I've been least impressed. If we're going to call them the big three, Jade de Grugy, Dysart Enos, and Brighter Days Ahead, I think in the jumping department, she's been the one I've been least impressed with. I'm not talking about the engine. I'm just talking in terms of her slickness. And obviously, I'd just like to see everything just tighten up a little bit. In regards to Cheltenham in mind, but yeah, it should be a straightforward assignment. And then I know the Twitterati will be wincing, but I'm actually very much looking forward to the Mayor's Novice Hurdle because
I am the same,
those three will make it to post. That that race in itself will be really exciting.
It will for sure. So, like the big trio, like you're talking, like we haven't seen Brighter Days Ahead for a long time, which is maybe why she's been forgotten maybe a small bit about in the market for that race, but. Like just talking about those big three, obviously, Dysart Enos based over in the UK, and Jade de Grugy has been brilliant, I suppose, since Christmas, kind of from strength to strength for Willie Mullins. Who's kind of coming out on top in your head at the moment?
Jade de Grugy, just the one thing you would say, obviously, Dysart Enos has got the Cheltenham form in the book. Fergal O'Brien made it very clear they brought her to Cheltenham at the back end of last year to give her a look on ground that was probably softer than what she was used to and not on a flat track to see how she would cope with it. Well, the answer was she coped with it emphatically. Went round on the bridle basically. So, yeah, I've probably got it in the market order at the moment. It's just that X factor about Jade de Grugy just tells you there's something under the bonnet there, isn't there? That she can go through the gears. But anyway, we'll cross that race when we come to it in a month's time. But yeah, Brighter Days Ahead should get the job done here and tee up the big one on the Thursday of the Cheltenham Festival.
Yeah, hopefully a big performance here. And it's one I'm looking forward to as well. Like you say, people kind of crib those mares races, but they can be some of the most competitive ones on the card at times. So yeah, one I'm looking forward to as well. But we'll move on to the 2:15, the Boyne Hurdle. Interesting contest here. Like normally a bit of a pointer towards the stayers here, naturally enough. Blazing Cal is one I am looking forward to seeing back out. Obviously won this well last year, went on to be quite fancied for the Cheltenham race. Didn't really run his race there. I think he had a problem afterwards, but plenty in here with kind of interesting ones, I suppose. Cider Burley, Gordon has spoken that he takes a run or two normally. He prefers getting the sun on his back, I think were the quotes he said. Hidden Valley Lake comes back after a fall chasing, which is an interesting one. But yeah, Delta Rock and Galvin then as well thrown in. I actually think Tiger Roll caused an upset in this a few years ago when getting a prep for, I suppose, similar to Delta Rock and Galvin. I don't really see that happening again. But what's your kind of view on this one, I suppose?
Yeah, tricky old stuff to weigh up, isn't it? As you say, Blazing Cow. Yeah, I believe. I think it was a burst blood vessel. Unless I'm going mad, I'm sure Blazing Cow bled after Cheltenham, where, as you say, he was strongly fancied in many quarters. And funny old time of things last year, in the sense that was a big drifter for this race, if my memory serves me right. I think it was around 5-2, went out to 5-1, and then won. So who knows what Blazing Cow turns up here on the back of the best part of a year off? You should say. He's still by far in this field the most unexposed, even he's 8. But he's still not got many mileage on many miles on the clock. As you said, we're Cider Burley, 12 years of age, Beacon Edge, an exposed 10-year-old. Ashdale Bob hasn't won for donkey's years. You say Delta Work. You'd imagine this is after his setback. This is a case of getting him back on the track and getting all the legs working again before the cross country. Similar sentiment applied to Galvin. So this is an absolute head scratcher. This is kind of Da Vinci Code stuff, isn't it? Really. So look, Blazing Cow could go off evens here, could go off at 11-2, and you could win at either price based on last year's run. So I don't know. Fascinating race. As you say, we'll just be interested to take pointers. But I suppose if you're a Blazing Cow fan, you just want to see him come around with a clean bill of health and show that at least the old fires still burn on the back of a year off.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see how he gets back. Like you kind of mentioned, not really a betting heat for me here either. There's kind of plenty in here you could make a shout for, but I think Blazing Cal, if he shows up at his best form, he should probably be winning this. You would be concerned. I'm not sure that he bleed at Cheltenham. That he could have. If that was the case, I'd be a little concerned about that. But he did get plenty of time. Whatever the issue was, he's been given plenty of time to get over it, and they can get Charles can get him fit if they were targeting today. So interesting to see how he runs, maybe with a view towards the stairs at Cheltenham. But yeah, not a betting contest for me. But nice to see Cider Burley run a nice race, and the other Gordon runner is kind of en route to Cheltenham. But I'll be giving that a skip in regards to putting money on anyway. But the 345 then is the William Hill 10 up novice chase. Grade 2 contest, and I think this will be another interesting one. Plenty of kind of talked about contenders for the staying novice races at Cheltenham, I suppose. I was actually waiting to see the jockey bookings now. I'm just seeing them for the first time here. Manila Cooner and Nick Rocket. Willie didn't declare the jockeys till about 12 o'clock, but Paul has gone for Nick Rocket,
Good.
who he has been a bit of a talky horse, I suppose. But I was very impressed with Manila Cooner last time. But there's plenty of good horses in this field. Do you think Paul made the right call here?
Yeah, well, Nick Rocket's my my National Hunt Chase ante-post fancy. I think we mentioned him in dispatches a few moons ago, and he's not actually qualified for the festival yet. I think it was just before lockdown. The criteria changed, so he needs to have finished in the top 4 of a 3-mile chase, which obviously his wins are both coming. When his win last time was over 2.5, and so essentially he's got to jump around in the top 4 out of 5 to book his ticket to the festival. So the old cynic in me come in here, but I'll say it's not all about today. To put it before I get the libel lawyers on my case. But if Nick Rocket could jump round in 3rd, not beaten far, it's a case of job done. Obviously, I'd like to go and see him win. He's a progressive type. I think 3 miles. I think 3 miles 6 and a slog will really suit him, to be honest with you, come a month's time. But it's a case of getting the job done here. American Mike is the horse. I mean, we've discussed him pretty much. He ends up on every show we're on, Emma. I think we're talking about him in about the 1993 Ballymore Hurdle or something, weren't we? It seems like every time we're on here now. He's one I can't quite work out. I think he's got entries in the Arkle and the Turners. He's got no entry in the Brown Advisory or the National Hunt Chase, but he steps up to 3 miles for the first time here. I don't really know what the plan is and whether they're looking at the kind of handicap ranks with him or something along those lines. But he's just a horse who's, I think we mentioned over Christmas, he's always never quite delivered what his bumper form almost entitled him to deliver, if you see what I'm saying. And I wouldn't be surprised if everything clicked sooner rather than later for him. But okay, we've been saying that for a while. But all in all, I think Nick Rocket, most likely winner. I think between him and Manila Cooner, I like Nick Rocket. But as I said, I think with the future in mind, Nick Rocket, I just will stress, is not qualified for the Cheltenham Festival as things stand, which connections have said the National Hunt Chase is the aim. So first things first, just need to get him round None of the kind of Corbett's cross nonsense of what we saw the other day, where Derek O'Connor unfortunately got brought down, didn't he, in that race. So, yeah, clear round here, jump round, book your ticket to the festival. If he wins, so be it. But I think it's to say, it's just a case of looking further afield.
Yeah, Willie seems to have a wealth of these top kind of staying novice chasers this season as well, which it's kind of hard to pick. He's number one, but yeah, Nick Rocket looks like he could be well up there. And we did a stable tour back in October, and he spoke very favourably of him as well. So yeah, wouldn't be surprised for a big performance there. We'll just talk about Exeter for our last few races, and we'll move on to a quick ante-post chat then. I suppose the first one we'll just give a quick mention to is the 305. It's a listed novice hurdle over 2 miles. Fun. Very interesting one here for Willie Mullins. She obviously did the splits after jumping the last in Thurles last time, and got beaten on the back of that. I think I heard quotes from was David Casey or William or Ruby Bottom, not 100% sure, saying that she was fine afterwards, but they just gave her plenty of time. So good to see her back here. She's getting plenty of weight here as well. A classy mare. Could be hard to beat here, but she is quite keen. Would you be opposing her?
Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it? As you say, she's not a million to line up with a good chance in the mares, the big one on the Thursday next month, is she? So look, Favour and Fortune, I think, is a bit of an underrated horse. I've actually had a few quid on it, monster prices for the Supreme. Didn't come off the bridle in the first 2 starts in Hereford and Wetherby, in minor events, admittedly, but showed real good attitude, jumped beautifully. And then was really thrown in the deep end, going from the kind of Hereford to a Grade 1 entry within 6 weeks, and was far from disgraced in that race. Well, actually, Farron Glory fouled 2 out. I suppose you could argue has let the form down to some extent. But Django Bay went on to win that Grade 1 Tolworth. Ran a good race when runner-up in the Sydney Banks to Ben Pauling's good horse Handstands on Thursday. So the form looks pretty solid. And Favour and Fortune, if you'd stopped the race, got a 2 out, was Tom Cannon was almost, I wouldn't say looking around for dangers, but it's traveling really strongly. I think it's a horse of a lot of ability here. Yes, there's the weight concessions and everything, but I just wonder, again, as you said, fun, been given a little bit of time after that, the kind of the mishap in inverted commas last time out. I think Favour and Fortune would be the one I would just side with here, even allowing for funds, mare's allowance, etc.
Yeah, look, he was kind of the obvious one you'd be drawn to as well. Look away. I'd imagine he probably won't show up here if obviously the main tag will probably be Kempton, Newbury, unless that does get called off.
Yeah.
But yeah, interesting one. Fun. We'll have to settle now. I think Patrick described her run in Bunchestown last year. Sharana Cartel was on fire, I think was the quote used. She did settle better now in Thurles, but she can be quite hard on herself. And if the ground is soft here, it will be tougher against some talented gelding. Now she is getting the weight, which will be in her favour. But we'll have a chat about the 4 or 5 then. A Mare's Chase, a listed Mare's Chase. Melina Girl is over in England more than she's in Ireland these days. I don't know, is it maybe catching up on her small, but she didn't run great in Warwick last time. I think Gavin Cromwell said that the marathon trip and the heavy weight didn't play in her favour, but I thought Galia De La Toe was probably the one to take from that race. She was second, but I thought the winner just got the run on her that day, My Silver Lining. But she ran a great race in first time cheek pieces. I'd find her hard to oppose here now. What's your thinking on this one?
Yeah, I'd agree with you here. I should probably have my Dan Skelter fan club t-shirt on, because I think Galia de Latour's got a cracking chance. She travelled really well in that Warwick race, as you say, and possibly didn't quite stay the 3-5 on soft ground. I think 3 here, looking at the weather, it's going to be a blend of soft and heavy. It's going to be deep. They'll make a bit more use of her over this trip, I would have thought. And yeah, Melina Girl, obviously you can get her back in the form she showed at Cheltenham back end of this last season and back end of the year. Then a major player. But I just wonder, as you say, the cumulative effect of kind of going to the well every month in these kind of 3.5 mile staying chases has got to take its toll. And she was beaten too far out in the Warwick race before Trip came into it, if that makes sense. I thought she just looked a bit of a tired horse to me. On balance, probably have to take her on. Pink Legend obviously won the race last year, so can't be ignored, but did take a crashing fall in that Huntingdon listed mare's chase last time out. Funnily enough, behind the horse I fancy to topple Dino Blue at the festival, Bride's Hill. Gavin Cromwell absolutely bolted up on that occasion. I think she's a really smart mare at around 2.5 miles. But yeah, I think it's Gallier de Latours to lose. Melina Gill, you've got to respect anything Gavin Cromwell sends out. He's got an outrageously good strike rate in the UK this season. But yeah, I do just wonder if she's just showing the old petrol gauge is coming on, and Gallier de Latour I think has got everything in her favour.
Yeah, agreed. I think I'm ahead of the Melina Girl fan club, but I just think, like you said, those trips to England might be taken. I told she's a small, handy kind of mare. But look, you have to respect Gavin Cromwell. He does so well on these trips to England. Just kind of before you finish up on the weekend's racing, anything else you wanted to mention in Exeter?
Yeah, just it's Pertemps qualifier. It's almost like it's the last chance saloon, more or less, to get yourself booked to the Cheltenham Festival. Obviously, top four for the 3:35 at Exeter to book your ticket if you like. There's 12 going to post. By far the most interesting runner in here is the Dan and Harry Skelton, believe it or not, trained my Drogo, of course,
Have they
who
paid you
was
for this appearance?
absolutely, yeah. He'll be invoicing me later, or the other way around. Yeah, but yeah, it was a great one, winning novice hurdler, and then you remember he was involved in that bonkers race with Gin on Lime at Cheltenham
Hmm.
many moons ago, and then yeah, looked a real smart prospect, and then unfortunately, it's just been on the sidelines, so injury after injury, and the comeback run over fences in the old Rhone Trace, that Grade Two. Back in October wasn't sparkling, shall we say. Now they reroute the horse back to hurdles. Very lightly raced, Grade 1 winning novice here off 151. I'd just be fascinated to watch how this unfolds. If they can just get this horse into the top four and book their ticket to Cheltenham, that's the kind of angle I'd be interested in here. Totally unexposed against, in the nicest possible way. A lot of horses in here. You're kind of as 10-year-olds, 12-year-olds. You know where you are with them. I mean, bless him, the big breakaway, lovely horse, but looks like he's out of love with the game. My Drogo, still a lot of upside to him, given the lightly race nature of his profile. So just one that he's the one to keep an eye on in regards to the festival. So obviously, Fakir du Delaine was my Pertemps eye catcher for Christmas, and he got himself qualified, didn't he? So it's a race I do like to try and unravel the plot. But yeah, so keep your eyes on that. So that'll be informative, and it's got a very good record going to the festival actually, Emma, which being the salient point. Walking on Air was placed in it last year after winning this. Fingal Bay won this race before going on to win the Pertemps final. There are a couple of others who've gone close after going well in this. So it's often very informative.
An interesting one. So, my Joe got one to add to the tracker. So we'll just wrap up the kind of weekend chat with maybe our best bets for the weekend. So, if you could give maybe a nap, a next best, and maybe a long shot if you had one.
Yeah, absolutely. Where are we going? Yeah, I'll focus on Newbury. We'll go now. I'm going to go Protectorat to turn over Shishkin
Hmm,
in the Denman chase.
big shout.
Yeah, I think I could be being disrespectful to the others here. I think it's a two-runner race. As I said, your favourite's won twice in 2 years and has become incredibly unreliable. So Protectorat, but everything in his favour, I think is got a cracking chance. I'm with the Skeltons again in the Betfair Hurdle. Be my each way. Low du Cert off 129 on heavy ground. I think there's plenty of potential there. As I said, I've got no problem backing potential at 20 to 1, if you see what I'm saying. I think there's a lot of upside. Now for the long shot, yeah, there is one at Newbury. Absolutely bonkers one in here. Maybe I'm losing the plot. The 130, it's a 3-mile handicap hurdle. The 28 to 1 outsider of the field, the 12-year-old on the blind side.
Hmm.
It loves Newbury. Won it March 50 to 1 here on heavy ground. Cracking record at the track and has come back down the weights to a mark of 137, which, funny enough, is the same mark as when winning it 50 to 1 at Newbury on heavy ground last season. So this is a horse who loves the mud. Absolute mudlark, and has some terrific form at the track as well, including, of course, a distance win. And I don't think this is a race blessed with a load of superstars. I think, again, there's quite an exposed bunch in here. So, yeah, on the blind side for me, 28s each way for the massive upset for James Bowen and Nicky Henderson in the 130 at Newbury.
An interesting one, a good horse needs day as well, and taking long shot to the extreme, 20, 25 to 1. So hopefully he'll run a nice race. I'll just give my ones quickly then. I think my knack might be actually in the first race at Naas on Saturday. Lark in the morning. I think he's shaped very well in a few maiden hurdle runs, most recently at Punchestown behind high wind.
Mm.
He's up there at the top of the Boodles market. I think he's qualified. He's had 3 maiden hurdle runs, but he might need actually to win to get into the race. He's rated around 118, which might be a little bit low to get him in down the bottom there. So might be looking to get the mark up a little bit here to get into that Cheltenham race. So I think he's one definitely to keep an eye on. Next best for me being Mascada in that Opera Hat Mare's Chase. I just think on rating she's £7 well in. Encouraging one last time, could take a fair bit of beating here. Optimal trip 2 miles, and my long shot is a little bit skinnier than yours. I'm just going to go look away, look away in the Betfair hurdle.
Right, yeah.
12 to 1 each way. I think he's going to run a nice race anyway. It should give you a good one for your money. So we'll finish up on the weekend there, but we'll have a quick chat. We're running a small bit long here, but we'll have a quick chat about the Supreme at Cheltenham, which will be our division we'll talk about this time. I suppose, look, we got good pointers towards it. Last weekend, Ballyburn now shot to the top of the market. I think he's around even money for the Supreme now. Look, I suppose you can't be anything but impressed by him. What did you make of the performance?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the question mark going into it was, in my view anyway, was he was beaten by Firefox over the minimum trip, who, shouldn't be forgotten in regards to this race. Then seemed to prove a great deal going up to 2.5, but Ballyburn coming back to 2 made no difference, looked really good. The worthy favourite, guessing where Willie Mullins horses are going to run. As I say, you can go mad with it. Is it the old? I don't know whether it's folklore or not, but the kind of rumor is that Willie Mullins has had one anti-post bet in his life, and that was 5 for 3 to win the Ballymore. We ended up winning the Albert Bartlett. So make of that what you will. About 15 years ago. So, but look, if you're asking me where do I think he'll run, I'd say kind of 70-30 go Supreme. Obviously, you've got the mystical power, Jericho de Repene, JP McManus holding the second and third favourites. They both take the chance to say it's not uncommon at all. He runs 2 or 3 in this race. And so, look, it's we're not going to regurgitate a lot what's already been going around, but I think, Ballyburn, I think he'll, on balance, probably end up here. As I say, a couple I've backed at monster prices. I backed that Favour and Fortune at 3 figures. Obviously ran in the champion bumper last season, disappointed, but so he'd need to win Exeter on Sunday to kind of come into the equations in each way play. And I backed Ben Pauling's Tell Her the Name, who was due to run in the Betfair Hurdle, isn't, and head straight to the Supreme. The proviso with Tell Her the Name is that horse wants proper spring ground. Absolutely forget it if there's more soft than anything. So a bit of a weather watch horse, but he disappointed in that Grade 1 with Django Bay and Favour and Fortune at Aintree at Christmas time on absolutely bottomless ground. It really was almost unraceable. Either side of that is dotted up in minor events by 15 lengths on the bridle. So that £200,000 purchase, I think, still got a lot of upside. I think telling the name's 33 to 1. I said you are kind of punting on the weather a little bit, because in the old days, we used to say, spring ground in Cheltenham is a given, but we've ended up with softer heavy for the last 6 years. But look, Ballyburn, if you're on anti-post, well done to you. I might throw him into a multiple when I know he's actually going down to post for 4 legs and Paul Townend on him on the morning. But as you say, not long now, but looking forward to it.
Some interesting ones there at each way prices as well. And I suppose we won't go on about it too much, but just before you wrap up, I think the 2 JP ones are very interesting for me. Nicky's one and Willie's one, obviously Mystical Power. Do you think, which one, like if you were to call it now, which one would you say would step up and chip? I'd imagine one of them surely will.
Oh, well, Mystical Power. Jericho de Repene's only entry is the Supreme.
Okay.
And I actually, if it were me, I would actually run Mystical Power in the Ballymore. For all that, it was in the end a devastating performance in the Moscow Flyer last time out. I wasn't totally convinced by Mystical Power's jumping. And I think you'll get caught out in the Supreme if you're making those kind of errors over the minimum trip. I think the extra half a mile might just really suit Mystical Power. But this way, Mystical Power runs in the Ballymore. It'd probably be my Wednesday nap. But we'll wait and see how it all unfolds. But Jericho de Repene looks an out-and-out speedball. One of those kind of push-button 2-milers. And I wouldn't think Jericho de Repene want the ground too deep either for a horse who travels so well. But it will come to that in time. But Ballyburn we'll wait and see where we'll be at probably at declaration stage where he ends up. We know where he runs, but yeah, I've got a couple of the inverted commas the home challenge at bigger prices. But tell her the name. I genuinely think on good ground won't be a million miles away from hitting the frame at 33-1.
A nice each way tip there for the Supreme to finish off. Yeah, Ballyburn looks a superstar. I'd imagine he'll go here as well. But some bigger price ones there with chances. I like Asian Master. I think he was good last time. Not going to be at the top of the Willie Mullins pecking order, but 25-1 if he showed up in a Supreme, I don't think he disgraced himself either. But yeah, hard to oppose the favourite at this stage. And I think we will wrap it up there. Probably sick of listening to me talking at this stage. But Ed, thank you very much for coming on. Some brilliant pointers into the UK angles into this weekend's racing. So enjoy the weekend. All of our listeners, if you're going to have a bet, make sure to gamble responsibly and tune in next week for another Formscan show.